everyone, welcome back to um, so today we have the today we have Emmanuel and Cindy on the podcast. Here to
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, okay, I'll start over. So, welcome back to this debate session. Today we have Emmanuel and Kavindi running for Vice President for MUSA. And before we begin, let's go through the itinerary first. So we'll first start off with an introduction, which is what's going right now, which will be followed by an opening statement from both our candidates. And then we'll have a Q&A session from the office bearer, and then we'll have a Q&A session from the students. So throughout this whole debate session, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below, which will be answered during the Q&A sessions from the students. And then we'll end this session with a closing statement from both our candidates. So candidates, you have the floor for your opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. So, greetings everyone. I am Imamu Arifin, and I'm a Arts and Social Sciences student in semester 2, year 1. Now, my wonderful partner will introduce herself.
Thank you, Imam. Hello, everyone. I'm Chamatka Jayasekara, a year 2, semester 2 student majoring in chemical engineering. Now, both me and Imam have first-hand experience with MUSA because this year I'm part of the Vice President Subcommittee and Imam is part of the President Subcommittee. And we believe by using this experience, we can serve the student community better. And in the first place, this experience is what inspired us to run for vice presidents. Now, as vice presidents, we hope to continue the good work by our predecessors as well as all the vice presidents before us and carry on that legacy. And of course, we hope to add value to it to make sure that all of us here will have a good student experience in the university. Now, Imam, could you explain how we are planning to add value and what new initiatives we have in mind?
Thank you, Chamatka. That's a great question. So, firstly, as touched in our manifesto, as vice presidents, we want to ensure that our students are able to find opportunities for self development throughout the university study. And we plan to do this by collaborating with divisions of MUSA, such as the clubs and societies and MUIS, and also extending that collaboration with the school representatives. Some of the initiatives that we have in mind and plan for collaboration is such that we call Monash Survival Pack 101, an initiative that is catered especially to ensure that our students have the knowledge and tools and ability to navigate throughout their student life in Monash University. And also that the other initiative that we have in mind is called Spill the Tea, an initiative that is inspired by Beyond Academics, where we want to increase the awareness of extracurricular activities in Monash and to encourage students to participate in them. Besides than that, as touched in the manifesto, we also wish to create a supportive learning environment for students in order for them to adapt and ease their way in Monash University. And we know that in the current online learning environment, it can be quite mundane and dull. So, as Vice President, we wish to alleviate this lack of excitement in online learning by introducing, firstly, a student initiative hub for students, which is initially proposed by our predecessors, but we wish to carry out. And this is a place where students can gather and try to be part of a community that strives to come up with initiatives that will help in the academics. And we also would like to say that we plan to introduce a Zoom background for students to use in the classes so that they can feel as if they are part of a community and to motivate them to turn on the cameras. However, in a manifesto, we also would like to touch on how to build a better relationship with the students. But how do we do that? Chamaika, perhaps you can enlighten us a bit on that.
Yes, definitely, Imam. Now, the term vice president might sound very fancy, but don't be mistaken. Just because we are vice presidents, we're not given a higher power to rule over. Instead, we're given responsibility to serve. So let me remind you, we are all part of one student community, and that's exactly why we can understand you. To do so, we want to connect and feel form a better bond with everyone in the student community. So we're planning to have a two-way communication channel where, for example, Instagram takeovers, which are interactive, Telegram channel for all the office bearers, and an open town hall event where students can come and raise their opinions. And I'd like to emphasize all our manifesto points are connected to each other to strengthen our ultimate goal of achieving the best possible learning environment to all students. And how we can succeed is by you actively being part of all the initiatives we have in store for you, and also by voicing your concerns. Like we mentioned, we're making our communication channels accessible, the feedback channel accessible and easy to use. We are creating opportunity for you for self-development and also for you to make connections with fellow peers. And we will spread awareness on how you can make a change. So let's embark on this journey together. We are hoping to have all your questions, very excited for them. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the opening speech, candidates. So now we'll move on to the next session, which is the Q&A session from the office bearer. So today we have Mohit and Vanessa, who are the current vice president of MUSA. So you have the floor to ask your questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for the speech as well. So actually, I have a question. You mentioned that you plan on increasing awareness of MUSA by collaborating with other divisions such as Survive 101, Spill the Tea, etc. So considering that MUSA has like about 100 activities every year, yet students still don't know about MUSA. So how do you think these events are much different in the sense that it will aid you in spreading awareness about MUSA?
Thank you, Mohit, for that question. So in regards of how it is different that we want to promote the awareness of MUSA is firstly is that what is distinct and unique about this initiative is that I think it will cater to the students in where they need to know, where they need to survive in university. And I think this initiative that we call Manage 101, where we actually try to collaborate with the division of MUSA, such as clubs and societies and MOEs, we can try to get speakers to come and actually come to promote MUSA by having a promotional time in that event in itself. And students can hear that where they know that MUSA is actually trying to come up with great initiatives that is catering to the needs of the students. And so I believe that during these events where we collaborate with the clubs and societies and divisions, it can create greater awareness by having the speakers to promote MUSA in that and during the event. Thank you.
All right, I have the next question. So in your manifesto, you mentioned that you aim to provide the best academic environment for the students. How do you define the best academic environment? And also, could you elaborate more on like, how do you plan to achieve this? I know you mentioned like Monash 101. If you would like to elaborate more on that, that would be great as well. Like at which part of semester are you planning to actually have that? And who are the parties involved?
Okay, thank you, Vanessa, for that question. So answering to your first question, how do we define a supportive learning environment for students? So we believe that sometimes students, especially new students with the new batches, when they come into university, they just have so much information they need to absorb, and sometimes it can be a bit confusing for the students. So we especially want to provide an initiative that we call the Student Initiative Hub, which is actually like carried out by our predecessors. But we think that in the Student Initiative Hub, we believe that students can come together and try to come up with consensus in how they can contribute in making the student environment more supportive for the new students. And I really think that in the Student Initiative, students can constructively able to handle with issues that are relating to their academics in the university. And so I believe that they can actually help them to come up with different ways in tackling the academic issues, and they will create in a way, supportive learning environment. So in regards to the initiative that we call Monash 101, in a way, this is to also like target with the demographics of new students, especially the one with the new batches and new semesters coming to the new semesters. And we really think that we need to guide them in a way by inviting speakers from different backgrounds, especially with clubs and societies. And also, we also want to extend in inviting speakers from the Monash alumni as well to provide students in the way they can survive in university, because it can be a bit overwhelming for students and how they can gauge the way in the university life. Thank you.
All right.
Adding on to that, also
then,
answering.
all right. Oh, no worries, Shamaka, you can go.
So adding on to that, also answering the part where you asked which part of the semester or the year we're trying to target it. So we think the students will be more relaxed during the very beginning of the semester or towards the end where when you're like just done with your exams. So those are the times we're actually targeting for the sessions such as Survey 101 and Spill the Tea.
All right, thank you for the answer. So moving on, I just want to ask, I believe both of you have been a Monash student for more than a semester. So what actions have you taken so far, to be more involved in the student community? And how do you think that this experience would contribute to the experience, to the position you're currently running for? Yeah. If you actually understood my question. Did I cut off?
Yep, we understand.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'll go first, Chamatka. So, as mentioned in our opening statement by Chamatka, she has mentioned that we both have an experience in MUSA. And for Chamatka, I think she will elaborate later, which is that she's in the Vice President Subcommittee. And as for me, I'm actually the President Assistant in the President Department in MUSA. And so I believe that one of the things that I do in that department is that I've involved in several initiatives and events. And I was actually involved in trying to organize an event where we try to bring all of the departments and divisions and functioning bodies of MUSA across 18 departments and divisions to come together and mingle and try to get to know each other. And I really think that having my experience there can contribute to the student community.
All right. Chamatka, do you want to say anything or can I go
Yeah.
next?
And on my part, I think the biggest strength I have right now is the fact that I'm a part of the. Oh yeah. So on my part, I think the biggest strength that I have is the fact that I am part of the vice president subcommittee. So I more or less know how the vice president's department function, and I have helped out throughout different events like TEDx, Beyond Academics, and so on. And in addition to that, I'm also part of the Monash Cypher cheerleading team, and I've been taking part in the things that happened in SOE, where I was mentor for one of the subjects. Very a session where I was a part of mentoring for one subject. So like that, I have been a part of lots of university activities, and I believe all that experience will help us to better serve the university community.
All right, thank you so much for that. Also, in your manifesto, you said strengthening connection and communication among students by promoting the feedback channels. And this will help you using working very closely with the publicity officers and making the posts and reminders regularly. So personally, we actually did try that a lot, and we did receive a lot of responses as well. But one thing that we encountered was it wasn't inconsistent throughout the whole semester. So looking at 8,000 students currently, how do you plan on achieving more feedbacks aside from the one that you mentioned already?
I will go first, Chamatka, if you don't mind. So just to clarify, actually in the manifesto, there are two distinctions in what we make in terms of the feedback channels and also
Sure.
the strengthening the communication channel. So actually in our third manifesto, it is not so much to emphasize on the feedback channels, but more on our ability as vice presidents to actually establish a better connection with the students and strengthening it, because we believe that sometimes when you are a representative of MUSA, we are sort of in a bubble, and so students see us as if we are in a higher position and we have some hierarchy. So we plan to demolish that notion and try to come up with initiatives that would break this gap. So our idea in the third manifesto as an initiative is that first we would work closely with the publicity officer in MUSA and try to use the Instagram takeovers so that students have a better understanding what are the roles that we're doing in MUSA and what are we trying to help them with. And so that is the first initiative. The second initiative is that we plan to establish a Telegram channel, which would be emphasized more from our president and how like they can encourage a better connection and strengthening the ability for us to connect with the students with a direct engagement of messaging in that platform. And the last one is a newly initiative that is coming up from us, the vice president candidates, is that we want to have a town hall session with students where students can come in at a very specific period of time accordingly where students are free and they can ask us any questions pertaining to our job scope or how to fill in the forms and anything relating to that. So perhaps like Chamatka, you can also like emphasize on the distinction for our first manifesto on the feedback channels.
Is actually answering Mohit's question on feedback specifically. So we do know there's a lot of modes of collecting feedback from the university. I think what we notice is the main problem here is most of the students don't see the point of giving feedback, or they most of the students might think of giving feedback as a burden rather than a mode of getting help for everyone. So the first thing that we want to do is to ensure that the students are aware why this feedback is needed and how the feedback is going to be used to make a change for the betterment of the student community. That's number one. And after that, we want to streamline the process of handling feedback, where we collaborate with all the 7 school reps and coming to a decision of which sort of feedback is handled by whom, so that all the collected feedback is responded to immediately and most effectively. So that's our plan for the feedback.
All right, thank you. And do you think the plans that you have will differ if it's an on-campus semester of like giving away feedbacks or collecting feedbacks and responses?
Yes, be some differences, but making awareness of why the feedback is needed, that's going to be more or less the same. We'll be using the digital channels as we think that is most effective. But in terms of collecting feedback, we can also have also like promote a way of going to students themselves and asking them maybe how's the day, how has the campus life been so far, personally approaching students while we're on campus. That's one of the things that we want to implement as vice presidents, for us to be very approachable to the students and get direct feedback from them. I think that will be the main difference, but other than that, the feedback form will remain digital.
All right, thank you. My next question is actually regarding as to my knowledge, neither of you have any experience on campus, like have an experience of on campus semester. So how do you intend to maintain the academic excellence and student welfare if it's an on campus semester?
I think being on campus and online in terms of academics, other than the teaching method, maintaining that excellence actually on campus should be much easier, as most of the feedback goes from our peers and from our personal experience. Either way, I don't think being online and on campus would make any difference. Although me and Imam don't have any experience in being on campus, in terms of academics, I think we should be able to handle that all right, because the feedback will be when we are on campus. It's more approachable. We are more approachable to the students, and it's easier for us to connect with the university administration. So in that terms, I think we'll be, if we have the confidence that we can handle the proceedings online, I think it will be even better if it was on campus.
Yeah, just adding on to Chamatka's point, I really think that some of the points that we highlighted in the manifesto, such as the initiatives and the collaborations with the clubs and societies, this can also be conducted in an offline format where we can have events for students. And when we say that academic excellence, we do not just mean that students get better in what they do in the academics in just one day, but this is why as vice presidents, we want to like provide these initiatives for students to know what are the ways for them to gauge and navigate themselves psychologically, mentally, and physically as a student in order for them to acquire that academic excellence in their university experience. So I believe that even with our initiatives, it can also in a way contribute in helping students to achieve that academic excellence.
All right, I have the next question. All right, so just now earlier on, actually to my previous question, you remember the question where I asked like that you have been a student for more than a semester and what actions have you taken to be more involved in the student community? I just want to ask actually besides from MUSA, what other actions have you taken? I think maybe Imam can actually take this question because Shamaka did briefly mention about her mentoring and things like that. I just want to know like, have you ever be involved in maybe SSLC or groups like that? Yeah.
In regards with SSLC, I've never been involved with any of those initiatives or anything, but I would say that I have been, if I could say, I've been involved in activities out of my student initiatives, such as that I've been in NGOs where I actually engage with students in different universities and helping them in how they can improve their constitution and all of that. And I believe that given my experience with working in this NGO and dealing with students in different campuses, I really believe that I can take the experience and help students given my background and what I have did in those events.
All right, thank you, Imam. And also moving on to my next question, you actually mentioned quite a lot of initiatives just now. So I just want to ask, like, what are actually your top 3 priorities for your term next year? Like, if I were to ask you that, what would you say?
I think our top 3 priorities is getting as much feedback from the students so we can actually strive for a better academic environment. That's the main priority will be collecting and making sure that we are able to reach out students through by getting feedback. That's one. And the second one would be the TEDx event. That's one. And the second one, and also pushing forward for the student initiative hub. Those 3 will be our top 3 priorities.
All right, thank you.
All right. So there was a question actually on the Instagram platform by our GenSec Eunice on how you'll be able to juggle between the new initiatives that you'll be like launching that you just mentioned and the current initiatives only. I still don't actually. I think that it wasn't quite clear for me. So would you be able to elaborate on it on like how do you plan on balancing both of it? And please explain like in context to the vice president's department. Yeah.
So, with regards to juggling all the things with already existing responsibilities and the new initiatives, yes, all are, so just it's an idea pool that we have. So, as fit, we will implement different initiatives if time permits. But that being said, we are also hoping to collaborate with other divisions to get their help, and we also hope to utilize the student initiative hub in this matter where we can get students from who are not from MUSA or who are not part of any other club in society, where if they want to get some experience in helping organize some campus event, they can also join us to organize these initiatives, new initiatives we have in store. So yeah.
All right, thank you. And moving on, I would just want to ask, you know, how your manifesto is actually more on building a presence within the student community and addressing the students' concern. But I'm sure that you're aware that the vice president position entails to much more like other responsibilities such as TEDx, MUSA merch, as well as all the funds that we have. There are actually 3 funds in total. So what are your plans for that? Like considering how we only have like this limited time. So how are you gonna like actually carry all that out while ensuring that the current initiatives are actually taken care of?
So, like we said, the current responsibilities and initiatives that are part of the Vice President's job scope will be our priority. So, the event TEDx, subsidies, merge will always be in the very beginning of our priority list. So, with that, we will be trying to push forward for different new initiatives. That's our plan. But we are well aware that the responsibilities are there, and the events such as TEDx, handling of subsidies, and the merge, we don't really plan to do anything very different from what has been done before. That's why we haven't really spoken about different initiatives, but we hope to carry out the way it is.
Also, I would like to extend on Chimaka's point is that, of course, to juggle between these different initiatives we have, given also our job scope as vice presidents to handle the MUSA merchandise, the TEDx, we want to ensure that when at the start of a tenure in our term as vice presidents, we are going to create a realistic timeline to ensure that the different initiatives and the different job scopes that we have to fulfill and we have to execute in our responsibilities can be navigated really well throughout our tenure so that there is no overlapping of different responsibilities and it will not overwhelm us. So at the end of the day, setting a realistic timeline to ensure what we can do and what we cannot do to make sure that the initiatives can be carried out and our responsibilities are carried out as well.
Sorry to interrupt the session, but if any audience has questions, please remember to comment in the comment section. And for now, we can redirect to OBs for one more question, and then we'll go to the audience.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So to both of you, as a vice president, you'll be part of the executive committee, which plays a crucial role in actually revamping MUSA as a whole. So, which aspects do you think MUSA needs the most improvement upon, and how do you guys plan on doing this? And for my second part, to Chamatka, can you tell me the same thing in respect to the VP's department, since you've been a subcom already? Thanks.
Mohit, I'm sorry, could you repeat like the last part that you directed towards me? That was a bit of a lag.
Yeah, so it was the same thing that I actually asked. So basically, could you tell me like what improvements do you think that the VP department specifically needs, since you've already been a subcommittee member already?
Okay, I guess I'll go first, Imam. So, as MUSA as a whole, one thing I noticed is I think between the office bearers, between the subcommittee members, inter-department, I'm talking about, we need a bit more connection. I'd really like it if we knew the other subcommittees, other office bearers better than what we know. Like, yes, the vice president's department, we have a good harmony and we work together well. But I'd like to see I'd like if there was experience where we had to actually work with another department very closely, and if MUSA as a whole is a bit more connected in office bearers and subcommittee members. So even for the vice president's department, I think that will be my suggestion. To have more connection with the other department subcommittees and also with the other office bearers. Imam, you have anything to add to that?
Yep. Of course, just adding on to Chimatka's point is that as highlighted in our manifesto, sorry, not the manifesto, but in what we strive to achieve as a student party as we're running with Ignitas, we want to strive in trying to enhance the unity within the MUSA association itself, so that in order for us to work together and be a strong united MUSA, we have to work really well inter-department with other office bearers and individuals, and that is what we're striving for in the executive committee. And also the second is that once we have established this proper connection, establishment of trust, and a harmonious working relationship with different office barriers in the executive department, then only we will focus on how can we connect and establish that relationship better with the students so that we can serve them better. So I think that those two are going to be our priorities when we're in the executive committee.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mohit and Vanessa, for your questions, and thank you to the candidates for answering them. Next, we'll move on to the Q&A session from the audience. Again, remember, if you have any questions, you can still comment in the comment section, and we'll be answering them now. So the first question we have here is from Mikey. In your opinion, what separates what the vice presidents can do and what the school representatives can do in terms of academia?
Okay, so answering that, I think yes, when it comes to academics, vice presidents and school representatives both play a major role, and I believe that they have to work hand in hand to do a very good job. So, in terms of what sets the vice presidents apart from the school representatives is that one of the things that vice presidents can do is to provide direction to the school reps and sort of streamline all the processes for all the different schools and work closely to gather the information they need for to represent or to provide to the campus officials at the CEC meeting. So that's one of the main differences between the school representatives and the vice presidents. And I believe, again, the main thing that a vice president can do is to provide direction and ensure that all the academic related processes are streamlined and the student body is aware of what's going on.
Would
I
you
hope
like
that
to
answers
add
the
on to
question.
that, Imam?
Yes, I think Chamaka has highlighted with the fact that what really separates us between the vice president and the school representatives is that we are more responsible in trying to navigate and setting a direction and guide for the school representatives in terms of how they can handle with academic issues in their own faculties. So I think Chamaka highlighted most of it. And yes, vice presidents are really responsible and they're very important in setting a direction so that school representatives can go to vice presidents in terms of guidance and opinions and how they can navigate throughout their faculties in terms of academic issues.
Okay, thank you for your answer, Imam and Chamaktas. I hope that answers your question, Mikey. The second question we have here is from Minho. Hi, Imam and Chamakta. I would like to ask, since TEDx is a trademark event that is organized by the VP department, as you are aware, how would you ensure that your department has sufficient manpower to handle the amount of events you're proposing while keeping the professionalism of TEDx as an event?
Okay, I'll take that question. Right now, the TEDx event is happening online, and as far as I'm concerned, the VP department right now is well capable of handling it on our own. The manpower is well sufficient. But if it's going to be on campus next year, then we are allowed and we can form a separate committee to organize TEDx, where we recruit other members who's not part of the MUSA to come and help us and form a committee where we can form a committee dedicated for TEDx, and I think that will be well sufficient to successfully carry out the event. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, adding on to Chamaka's point, is that of course we want to try to be as sufficient as possible to ensure that we can carry out these different initiatives while also keeping the professionalism in TEDx. And of course, as vice president, we actually have the ability to set up a specific committee for TEDx, and we will do to the best of ability to look into what are the amounts of manpower or individuals that are needed to execute different operations in trying to make TEDx successful and to maintain its professionalism. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you for that, Imam and Chamakla. So the next question we have here is from Namira. How do you guys want to raise awareness and encourage students and schools to use the funds under VPs for Education Affair Committee and student initiative events?
So right now, I think most of the students are not aware of the subsidies that VPs can provide, especially because if it's an online event, and quite frankly, the subsidies haven't really been used for this online semester, especially. But as campus on campus events resume, and when things are on, and yes, we want to publicize the very specifics of what these subsidies are for and how you can apply for it and utilize it through our Instagram of MUSA official Instagram, and make and spread awareness regarding these subsidies. And I'm not quite sure the Educational Affairs Committee has subsidies, but yes, we need feedback and your concerns to be addressed at the Education Affairs Committee. For all that, we hope to raise awareness and let the students know exactly what's happening and why we need your support as well.
Yeah, just to add on Chamatka's point is that in terms of when we want to raise awareness, I think we have to utilize the available resources that we have in terms of trying to publicize and to raise awareness, which are our social media accounts that we have in MUSA. So I'm sure that we can use Instagram channels and also our Facebook, and perhaps given that we have this new initiative of using Telegram, we can actually try to raise awareness for students to use these funds in terms of the Education Affairs Committee and the student initiative events.
Sorry. I'll repeat the question. So the next question is from Garen. To the candidates, how will you work on the Musa merchandise, and do you have any plans to make Musa merchandise as official Monash merchandise?
So, regarding the merchandise, the procedure that's so far being carried out by our predecessors, we find it quite effective. So we plan, but we hope to start working on the merchandise well ahead of time, and we will be providing a link or like a form on the MUSA website and even the Instagram where you can express your interest. Then and make the payment so we can ship it to you. That's if it's online, but if it's on campus, of course, you can always collect it from a collection point. That's how we're going to handle the merchandise. But in terms of having Musa merchandise as official merchandise, Imam, do you have any idea of that?
In terms of the MUSA, making the MUSA merchandise as official Monash merchandise, we have not really delved into thinking of how we can do this, but we will sure try to think of if it's a good idea. But just adding on to Chamatka's point is that when it comes to working on the MUSA merchandise, again, we want to create a realistic time frame where we can cater in which where we want to see if we can make the production of the MUSA merchandise as fast as possible. And because students want to try to purchase them, they want to have it for their own experience in university life. So setting up a time frame and also like thinking of the ways how we can like ensure the operations of making the merchandise successfully is very necessary and vital. So that's how we both will work on the MUSA merchandise.
All right, thank you for the answer, Imam and Chamakta. So the next question we have here is from Melissa. Hello, just now you mentioned that you plan to organize town hall sessions for students to participate in, but unfortunately, events like these in the past don't have good response. How will you tackle dealing with a more passive student environment?
Thank you so much, Malaysia, for that question. And I think that's a legitimate concern in terms of we might have students that are shy to come up to this town hall event. So again, like probably like me and Chimatka, we one of our plans in the manifesto is that we want to strengthen the connection and communication with the students, and this starts first with us with ourselves. But we want to make ourselves more accessible to the students by perhaps opening our Instagram accounts. If um, campus is going to be offline, we're going to see students and tell them that we are from the MUSA, we're working as vice president, and we want to help you in terms of your academics and all of that. So first of all, we want to try to make ourselves more accessible and to just twist that perception that we are very bureaucratic and we are very high in power. But in reality, we're just representing on behalf of the students and we have the good opportunity to represent for them. So we believe that first, when we do this, students will be more comfortable in approaching us. And second is that when we do this, other initiatives such as working with the publicity officer in trying to have this IG takeovers where we introduce ourselves and what we do, students have a more better understanding in what we do and what we can do for them. And therefore, when we publicize and when we promote these town hall events, students will be more comfortable because they know the purpose and why they're attending these town hall sessions. And I think like in doing that, students would be more comfortable in coming to us. And to also answer that passive student environment, yes, there's an issue with students being shy, and I think that's quite natural when you come to university, especially new students, that you're shy and you don't step out of your comfort zone and confront to highlight issues. But as vice presidents, we want to ensure that we want to create an environment and a safe space for students to ensure that they can raise anything that they want. And so I think by creating the environment, slowly but surely, students will come out of the comfort zone and participate in the town hall sessions. I hope that answers your question, Melissa. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add on, Chamakta?
No, I think Imam actually told the gist of everything.
Alrighty. Thank you, Imam and Chamakta, for the answer. So the next question we have here is from Mikey. The EAC currently is mostly just a platform for reps to inform VPs to inform the CEC. Do you guys think that EAC could do more since all the reps are present? If so, how?
I think it's also a good platform for the reps and the vice presidents to talk about initiatives or pertinent issues and actually talk about a good solution for the issues that come up in the student community. And I believe that's one of the main functions of the EAC, although it is also to inform, it's also for the VPs to be informed of what's going on in different schools. I think that's one of the main things. And it's also a good platform to maintain a good relationship with all the uh, schools as well as the vice president. So whenever there is an initiative, a new initiative, or whenever there's an issue, it's very easy that all the uh, school reps as well as the vice presidents, when they're very connected.
Yeah, also to add on to Chimaka's point is that I think that the platform in which we have this EAC with the school representatives can also be a platform in where we communicate effectively with school representatives in tackling the issues that we have in terms of academic issues and also like in terms of how can we boost the participation rate in trying to get the students to highlight the feedback forms. And so I believe that this is a committee where we can try to come together collectively in trying to come up with constructive ways and ideas and how we can tackle with the issues pertaining to academic the academic platforms and things. So I believe that's what we can do. I hope that answers your question, Mikey.
All right, thank you for the answer. So moving on to the next question. The question is from Daniel. You have mentioned that town hall sessions would be used as a platform to obtain feedbacks from the students. How effective would it be? Considering it has been used by the current president, but it does not seem to be a viable platform to gain feedback from students.
Okay, that's a really good question, Daniel T. Given in the way we want to conduct these town hall sessions, actually, just to clarify, it's just not necessarily getting the feedback of students, but also to just have students come in to ask anything pertaining to their university issues in terms of gaining information or gaining ways of how they can contribute in terms of giving feedback and all of that. So in these town hall sessions, we would promote in a way we want to tell students that this is not just a place for them to give feedback, but also a place for them to get to know us as the vice presidents. And I believe that when we have this session where we are very engaging in a two-way communication, I believe that students have a more idea and have a more meaning and purpose in what they can think to contribute to trying to provide feedbacks to their academic issues. So I believe that this might help students to be more comfortable in giving feedbacks and all of that. Thank you.
Anything to add on, Chamakta?
I think as Imam rightfully mentioned, one of the main purposes of the town hall event is so that the students know that we are approachable and that we know we are always there to listen. So it's more of it's more than it being a feedback channel. It's also a way to connect and form a bond between the students and also get their ideas on how we are as vice presidents and what we can do and what we can do to help them grow as students.
All right, thank you for the answers. So the next question we have is from Mikey. Referring back to the first question, what separates the reps and VP, where VP can advise the reps on academic issues? Wouldn't the reps be more interactive with their own respective faculty?
That's right. Oh, sorry. That's right. From experience, yes, the reps can be more interactive with the faculty, but I think that shouldn't be an issue because whatever that we should do as MUSA members, whether it's being vice presidents or reps, is what's best for the students. So if it's actually the best and fastest and most effective way is to consult the faculty, then the reps must do it. We're not preventing it, and we don't say that no, they should come to the vice presidents regardless. That's why we actually need to talk with the reps at the very start and decide on what sort of issues can be addressed as at the faculty. What sort of issues would you want us to handle? We really need to talk with all the batch reps and decide what feedback or what concerns are addressed to whom. That's one thing that we as vice presidents need to streamline, and then we have to take the steps which are most effective and timely for students. So I hope that answers the question.
Anything to add on, Imam?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take Daniel's question next, which seems to be a follow up. Regarding collecting student feedback once again, what would be other alternatives other than town hall session and online forms if they don't seem to be working? Thank you.
I think the other alternative is, of course, personally approaching students. Now, if it's an on-campus setting, I think it will be much easier where while working in the campus, we can actually meet students and have a friendly chat on how things are going. But if me and Imam do get elected, if you meet us in even an online event or any campus event, you will actually encounter us asking random questions on how your academics are going, on how campus life is so far, what other things do you want implemented that will make your life easy at Monash. So I think if none of these things would work, which I highly doubt, we are advocating for it. Either way, we are also having a very personal approach to engage with the students, regardless of whether these work or not, to be honest.
Anything to add on, Imam?
Yeah, regarding with the collecting the student feedback, of course, if there is a case or situation where we don't see the effectiveness of getting the feedback from the students, we will try to have different ways in gauging the interest of the students to provide feedback. And perhaps like Chimak have highlighted it very well, like perhaps when we have collaborations of events, these are the times where students are there very included and inclusive to try to be part of a community and attending an event. And at that time, we can ask students, to explain to them perhaps that the feedback forms are really important, and just tying that narrative that these feedback forms will help enhance the quality of their education. And perhaps those are the ways that we can do. And even during the Instagram takeovers, we can have a specific theme of a session during the Instagram to take over to just explain about the feedback forms. Why is it important? How does it help? And what we can do that the vice presidents can contribute in making a change in terms of their academic issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So I'll just like to remind that I'll be filtering out questions that have already been asked by the OBs or have already been answered before. And also, if you weren't able to drop in your questions here or your questions weren't asked, please feel free to go to MUSA's official Instagram page and comment them under KYC's profiles. So the next question we have here is from Eunice. Hello, candidates. As both VPs are in charge of academics and alongside there's an academic board rep who is also in charge for the safety net, what do you think can be integrated, for example, information, meetings, or opinions? And following up, how are you going to ensure that Monash University Malaysia's voice is heard to its campuses in MSA as VPs?
I believe it is a given that it's the primary job of a vice president to make sure that the campus's voice is heard during these meetings and to the officials. So, as we mentioned in our opening statement, as well as manifesto, yes, we will take it very seriously to make sure whatever the feedback we collect and everything is appropriately addressed at the CEC meetings and whatever the chance we get to discuss with the campus officials. Imam, you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, just adding on to the part of how we can ensure that Monash University Malaysia's voice will be heard is that we will try to come up with ways such as we try to gather data, we try to regain the information that we have received from the feedback forms from the students in a particular concern, and we will make sure that we will highlight this with the Monash University Australia as vice presidents. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the answer. So again, if you weren't able to ask your question here, you can go to MUSA's Instagram official page and comment your question under KYC series. So now we can redirect the Q&A session to the OBs. OBs, if you have any questions right now, you may ask.
Yes. All right. Thank you. I do have one question because, as far as I know, right, both of you actually considered other positions within MUSA to actually run for before you actually decide on being the VP. So there's actually a difference of like different of the, how would I put this, the things that you can do within each role. So why did you actually choose the VP, and what actually caught your eye within the VP that you think that if you are in this VP position, right, you can actually like help the students, you could benefit the student community?
Shamaika, do you want to go first, or do you?
Yes, sure. So I think although I did consider other positions, vice president's position was my priority because I have been working in the vice president's department and I know what you can do as a vice president. And I was really captured by the different responsibilities that a vice presidents have, especially how we are responsible to represent the students at these academic committees, and especially the TEDx event, to be very honest. So with that, I really wanted to make a change in terms of how the students are heard, and like how we can bring a lot of students together. Basically, it's to do with increasing the number of feedback we get. I saw that gap, and it was another point where I wanted to challenge myself to work on, and to bring forward some improvement in that area. So that's really what inspired me to be a vice president. How about you, Imam?
So, as for me, the reason to why I have chosen to run as a vice president candidate is because, as a second year semester student, I always have that heart and that attentiveness to really care the quality of our education, especially affects my friends and the students. So every time there is a class, every time I listen to my lecture, I would see how that class is conducted and how enthusiastic my friends are in that class, because I want to ensure that when we are in university, I want them to have the best experience and how they can develop themselves to be better human beings and that they can contribute to their community. So I believe that one of the job scopes related to the vice president primarily is handling with the education affairs committee, and I really believe that through that platform and my ability to raise the voices of students and to deliver it to the administrators of Monash, I can make a change in trying to change in any way, even if it's a little bit, and how students are experiencing in their academic issues. So I really think that is why I want to run for vice president candidate, because I want to do it for the students.
All right, thank you. Is the time up? May I ask one more question?
Yes, you may ask one follow-up question.
All right. So you actually mentioned about Monash 101. I think it's called Survive Monash 101. It's a good idea actually, but just to put it out there that the school reps, I am not sure if it's a consistent thing, but I know there are actually quite a lot of events where they invite alumni to actually speak to the students and things like that. So I believe that in this sense, there's a lot of like integration that could be done. I don't think that Monash 101 could actually be a standalone event for the students. But yes, just putting it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. We would deeply take that advice and implement it when we do get elected.
Thank you.
All right, so we have one more question from the audience, which is from Mikey. At Imam, you have mentioned that you noticed these things during classes. Have you done anything previously to change the academic issues in Monash prior to your candidacy?
Thank you, Mikey. That's a good question actually. So I realized that as a student, you only have a limited ability in what you can do to change the academic issues. But the least that I can do was to fill in the feedback forms. If I'm not mistaken, it is the set two forms for the particular like faculty in School of Arts. That is for my faculty. And I have tried to thoroughly identify and then explain in that forms and what specific areas can be improved, especially when it comes to online learning. Like for example, perhaps like lecturers can be more enthusiastic, or perhaps they can encourage students to just open up the cameras and just be a lot more inviting and all of that. So the least that I can do as a student, to the best of my ability, is to provide feedback forms when it's given to me in my student email. So, and I also like try to encourage my other friends and students, perhaps that we can also like try to just open up our cameras when we're in a class, to encourage the other students too, to just open up the cameras and be enthusiastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Imam. So it seems like we're done with the Q&A session. So we can now proceed to the closing statement. So the candidates, you have the floor for the closing statement.
Thank you. So, first of all, I'd like to thank all the election officials and the office bearers for organizing a very smooth debate. And I also thank everybody who joined us and watched this debate. And especially thank you to all the people who raised their concerns, asked questions from us. We really appreciate it. And we hope this support and this voicing of opinion will continue, because that's what's going to be most important if we are elected as vice presidents. So do hop in and always express your thoughts and feedback throughout the year, just like this, because as you can see, it not only helps us grow as vice presidents, but also helps the entire student community as a whole. So we will, as vice presidents, if we are elected, we will always keep our eyes, ears, and hearts open for all your concerns and make sure that it's heard by the campus officials. Imam?
Thank you, Chamaka. Continuing with what Chamaka has said, we both have decided not to run just for the sake of running and getting elected, but to really serve the students and find any means necessary to help the students in one way or another. So we both are very dedicated and passionate in improving and providing our heart, energy, and time in serving you and not letting you down. As our Monash University founding father, Sir John Monash, once said, equip your life not solely for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the whole community. And with this, we truly want to live up in fulfilling this ideal when we do get elected. So thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you can support us. And in this journey, we will do it together.
All right, thank you for the closing statement, candidates. So now with this, I'd like to end this debate session. Just to review on the next session, it'll start at 8 p.m. and we have the presidents next. So hopefully you enjoyed this session, and thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to the OBs for asking the questions, and thank you to the candidates for answering everything. So with this, I'd like to end this session. Thank you.